Okay, for this project I am using, I got the big cone of it, Peaches and Cream, which is a 100% cotton 4-ply yarn. Now you don't have to use this brand, but I probably would recommend cotton. Since it's a beach bag, it's going to be a lot stronger. I mean, you can use acrylic if you want. It's not going to make the pattern look any different, but it's just cotton's a lot stronger. The color I'm using is called Ocean Stripes, and it's the big cone, and I think there's over 600 yards in it. Let me look. I can never find it. Here. Yeah, nope, 706 yards in here, so I'm going to be using this big cone. Okay, and you're also going to need a piece of plastic canvas. This is going to go on the bottom of the bag to make the bag stronger. So this is just regular plastic canvas that you find at the craft aisle. So I'll set that to the side. Now for the handles, you don't have to do the same kind of handles that I'm doing. But if you want, what you need is a length of rope. Now I got my rope at my local roping supply store. You can get it at just any, probably a hardware store, building supply store, anything like that. And this is 100% nylon, and it's 5/8 inch thick. And I got a 6-foot section, and it's not very much money. This was only like $4 for this, and it's going to make me 2 handles for mine. I might not need quite that much, but that's just what I got. And that's if you want to do that. You don't have to do that, but if you want to make your own handles, you can do that too. But that's what I got, that. And then I'm going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5mm crochet hook. And then if you want to use any beads or anything to decorate your bag with, I don't know for sure if I'm going to or not, but you can always get them too. Okay, you want to start off with the chain of 41, and this is going to be the base of the bag. So once you get your chain of 41 made, you want to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and remember that we never count the one that's on our hook. So second one over, single crochet, and now I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every single stitch for the length of the chain. Just like that. 1 single all the way to the end. Okay, once you make it to the end, you should have a total of 40 stitches. And now what you want to do is chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to do another row of single crochet. And we're going to put our first single crochet right here in this very first stitch. That chain 1 that we did does not count as anything. So go ahead and go right in the very first spot and single crochet. And then we'll work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to the end of the row. And when we get to the end of the row, we still should have 40 single crochets. So just like that. Okay, once you make it to the end and you have your 40 stitches, we're just going to repeat that row. We're by chaining 1 and turning and single crocheting right back into that very first stitch, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across, and we're just going to keep repeating this row until our piece gets wider. Just like that. And when you make it to the end of the row, you still should have 40 stitches. And we're going to keep repeating this. Every row should have 40 stitches at the end. Okay, you want to do it for a total of 16 rows. So you have 40 single crochet in each row, and you do a total of 16. Now what you want to do is we're going to go around the whole piece with a row of single crochet. So right where we left off, we're going to chain 1. And we're going to work down this side, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're going to go right back into the same stitch here of our last single crochet. You see we put a single crochet there. Our first one's going to go right here. And then you can see the last stitch of the row. Just go right around that last stitch. Is where you want to put your single crochets. I got a knot in my yarn. I hate that. And you just continue to work, putting one single crochet at the end of every row here. And you can pretty much see where I'm putting them at the end of the row, like here, 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 here. It's pretty easy to tell. Okay, then when you get to the last stitch here, and then right here, this first stitch of the long row here, we're going to put 3 single crochets into this first stitch here, and that'll help around the corners so the corners don't really stick up. So 3 into that one, and now I'm going to continue along this long side here, working 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you can pretty much see where the stitches go pretty well now on this round or this row. So just like that. So I'm going to continue working, and I'll meet you right here at this next corner. Okay, when you make it to the last stitch over here of this row, you want to put 3 single crochets into it. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then we'll work down this short side again, putting 1 single crochet at the end of every row here, just like we did on the other side. Trying to hide that tail as I go, so. Okay, then when you make it up here to the corner, the first stitch of this top row here, you want to put 3 single crochets through it. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to work my way across the long part again, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my starting point. Okay, when you make it to the last stitch over here, you want to put 3 single crochets into that last stitch. And now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet we made here. Not this chain one that we made. We chained 1, remember? We're not going to slip stitch into that. It's this first single crochet here. And it's kind of along the side. It's the first one you put in the first row. Go into that one and slip stitch and tie off. And you should have a total of 118 stitches all the way around. And that's what you want to have. And you want to make 2 pieces exactly the same, just like this. That way we can cut our plastic canvas and put it in between them, and then we'll single crochet it together, and that'll make the bottom nice and strong. So you want 2 pieces exactly the same. 118 stitches should be your stitch count when you go all the way around. Okay, so what you want to do is cut your piece of plastic canvas to fit it just about like this. Mine's actually a little short. I ran out and it's just a little bit short on each side, but that ain't really going to matter. But just get it as close as you can. Maybe just leave like a row along the edges that it's not touching, like that. Of course, you probably want to do it on this side too, but I just don't have any more plastic canvas right now, and I want to finish this bag up for you guys, so I think that one's going to work for me. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put the bad side facing up. Or I guess if you have a bad side, yeah, the row of single crochet, you want the bad side to be facing up on that, and then the good side to be facing up on this. And it doesn't matter which way you put it here. Okay, what I'm going to do is hold my work like this. This would be the bottom and this would be the top. I'm going to find the 3rd single crochet in this corner, or the middle of the 3 single crochets. I'm going to find the middle one, put my hook into it, and then I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm going to find the middle of the 3 that's in that corner. I believe it's this one right here. And now that's where I'm going to start my yarn. And I'm going to start by chaining 1. I guess I wouldn't be working this way. I'm going to be working this way. Okay, now I'm going to go back into that same stitch and I'm going to single crochet. Like that. And now I'm going to grab the next stitch here and the next stitch on the back. You got to look for it and make sure you're getting the right stitches. And single crochet, and again the next stitch here and the next stitch on the back and a single crochet, the next stitch here and the next stitch on the back, single crochet, next stitch on the back, single crochet. And we're doing it to where the single crochets are facing us now. The right side of the single crochets are facing us because we're working this way. Go into the next stitch and then the next stitch on the back and single crochet, and we're just going to do this all the way around the whole entire piece. Just 1 single crochet in every stitch. Even the corners, they just get 1 in every stitch. Just like this. So I'm going to keep going around until I get, I'm going to go around here until I get back down maybe to here, and then I'll meet you up over here, and that's when we'll insert our piece of plastic canvas. Okay, I've been working all the way around here, and now I'm just going to kind of slip my plastic canvas in here now. That, and now I'm going to continue sewing or single crocheting it together just like we've been doing. Just like that. Now when you make it all the way back around to your starting point, you still should have 118 stitches. Okay, I've made it around to the beginning and I did end up with 118 stitches. I can't believe it. I usually don't, but I did. So now what I want to do, and if you have 118, is you want to slip stitch into that first single crochet, and not the chain 1, but the first single crochet. And now what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. So we're going to be turning our work every round. We're not going to keep going round and around. Every round is going to be a turn. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go right back into that same stitch that I just slip stitched into, and let me look at it here. Sometimes I get confused. Single crochet right back into that same stitch, like that. And now I'm going to do a triple crochet into the next stitch. So I'm going to yarn over twice and triple right into the next. So actually we're working on the back side of the work. You can see the single crochet, that's the back row of it. And this, we're working on the back side, but we want to do that. The next stitch will be a single crochet, and then the next stitch will be a triple crochet. And then a single crochet, and then a triple crochet. It's hard to show you because my plastic canvas doesn't let my work bend very well. And then a single crochet and a triple crochet. And we're going to repeat this single crochet, triple crochet all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Triple crochet and single crochet. Now I'm going to show you why we're working on the back side of our work now. Now when we turn it around and we start working on the front side, you'll see these bobbles show up on the front. So in order for these little notches to show up on the front, you have to work them from the back. So anyways, I'm just going to keep going, working a triple crochet and then a single into the next, triple into the next, and single into the next, triple into the next, and single into the next. And you repeat that just all the way around the whole piece until you get back to your starting point. Okay, once you made it all the way back to the beginning, you should have ended in a triple crochet. And now we're just going to end by slip stitching into our first single crochet, not the chain one, but the first single crochet. And we're going to chain one and turn our work. Now you can see we'll be working on the front side because the bobbles here are on the front. We work them on the back, but they turn out on the front. So now you want to go ahead and single crochet right back into that same stitch, and at the end of that round you still should have 118 stitches. At the end of every row now or round, it's 118 stitches. It's always going to be 118. So you want to go ahead and single crochet right back into that single crochet, right, this first one here, like that. And now we're going to do one single crochet in every stitch across. So we're going to single crochet into the next stitch, and to the next, and you can see we're single crocheting in the top of the triple crochet and into the single crochet that's between it. Single crochet to the top of that triple and single crochet into the single crochet in between it. So it's just one single crochet in every stitch around until you get back to the beginning. And remember, when you get back, you still should have 118 stitches. Just like that. And the more rows you do, you'll see the bag will start to turn up and actually form a bag. I know now it's kind of just laying flat, but it'll look better eventually. Okay, when you make it back around, you still should have your 118 stitches, and you want to go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet, not the chain one, but the single crochet. And now it's just a repeat of those two rows. So we're going to chain one and turn our work. And now we'll be working on the back side of our work again. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch right back into that same stitch that we just we're going to go ahead and single crochet, right back into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And then it's going to be a triple crochet into the next stitch. And then a single into the next. And then triple into the next. And single into the next. So we're just repeating the row before last. Triple into the next. And single. Triple. And single. And as you can see, if you flip your work the right side, it's making the bobbles on the front. So you just want to repeat that all the way around until you get back to the beginning. When you get back to the beginning, you just slip stitch into your first single crochet, and you should have 118 stitches. And then you just chain one and turn, and then you do a row of single crochet. And then it's a row of these little bobbles again, and then a row of single crochet, a row of bobbles. So it's just these 2 rows off and on until you get the bag as tall as you want it to be. And I'm not sure how many more rows I'm going to do, but I got quite a few more to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and I'll let you know here in just a second how many total rows that I do. Okay, I went ahead and did a total of 31 rows, and that is counting that very first row of single crochet down here that we single crocheted our base together with. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so forth, all the way to 31. So your last row should be a single crochet row, and I did do that. I'm not going to slip stitch and turn. I'm going to work in rounds across the top now. So you're going to need a stitch marker, and I'm just going to use this piece of yarn right here for my stitch marker. And it's kind of big, and I apologize, I don't have a lot of table space here. Dropping my yarn everywhere. Okay, you still should have your 118 stitches after that row of single crochet. What I'm going to do here, instead of turning, I'm not going to be turning my work anymore. I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker right there. And now I'm going to jump over and single crochet into the next stitch. I'm going to do 6 single crochets in a row, and then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to jump over to the first one, and that counts as my first single crochet. So there, I want to do 6 in a row. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now I'm going to do a single crochet decrease, and it's worked over 2 stitches. So what I do is I go into the next stitch and I draw up a loop, and then I go into the next one after that and I draw up a loop, and now I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops. That took 2 stitches and made it into 1. And now what I'm going to do is 6 single crochets in a row again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to go into the next one and drop a loop, and then go into the next one and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through all 3. Single crochet decrease. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. So it's 6 single crochets in a row again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the single crochet decrease over the next 2. So you go in the next one, drop a loop, and then the next one and drop a loop, and yarn over and go all through all 3 loops. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around. 6 single crochets and then a decrease, 6 single crochets and then a decrease, until I get over here to my stitch marker. Okay, once you make it back around, and after I just did my last decrease, and you should have 6 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just go ahead and single crochet in each of those 6. So you won't have room to put another decrease, which is fine. Now you should have a total of 104 stitches now when you get back around. Now all you want to do is move your stitch marker up like that, and now we're going to work around just putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. Just jump over there to the next single crochet and single crochet, and 1 single crochet in every stitch around. No decreasing now. And you just work 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get back to your stitch marker. And when you get back to your stitch marker, you still should have 104 stitches. Okay, once you made it around, you just go ahead and move your stitch marker up and make sure that you have 104 stitches. Now I'm going to mark off for the armholes, not the armholes, I'm sorry, thinking of a dress, the handle holes for my ropes. So what I want to do, I move my stitch marker up. I want to put 1 single crochet in the first 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to skip the next 2 and single crochet in the next. So skip 2 and single crochet into the next. So we got 1 little opening here. Now I want to single crochet into the next 22, and that is counting this one I just did. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So that was 22. And now I'm going to chain 2 again. 1, 2. I'm going to skip 2, skip, skip, single crochet into the next. So that is our next hole there for our rope. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next 26 stitches, counting this one as my number 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, here's 25 and 26. Now again, I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to skip the next 2, skip, skip, single crochet into the next. That is our 3rd hole. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the next 22 again, this being my first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, and 22. Again, chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, skip, skip, single crochet into the next, and that is our fourth and final hole for our rope. And now we should have 20 stitches remaining, counting this one right here. So go ahead and single crochet into the last 20. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, when you make it back around to your stitch marker, you should have 96 stitches now, plus you'll have 4 of these chain 2 spaces. So what we're going to do is go ahead and move our stitch marker up, and we're going to go around, and we're going to make it where we have 104 stitches again. So we're going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet in each stitch until we get to our first chain space. So that's the first 6 stitches here. Okay, and then when you get to your chain 2 space, you just want to put 2 single crochets through the space. Just right through it like that. Just like that. So now we got a hole there of where I'm going to put my rope through. And it's going to be a tight fit, but that's what you want because you don't want it slipping out. And now I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space. Okay, I'm coming up to my next chain 2 space, and again I'm just going to put 2 single crochets right through that chain space like that. And then I'm going to start again with the first single crochet and work 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space, and that's where I'll put 2 single crochets through the chain 2 space. And then you work again 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space, and you do the same. And then you just finish out working 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. And now when you get back to the beginning, you should have 104 stitches again. Okay, I've made it back to the beginning, and you can see I went through each one of the 4 chain spaces and I put 2 single crochets in them. Now what I'm going to do is move my stitch marker up, and you should have 104 stitches now. And I'm going to do 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So just 1 in every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. And when I get back to my stitch marker, I just move it up and I continue around again. And I want to do that for a total of 3 more times, this being my first round here. See, when I get to this, I'm just single crocheting on the single crochet that we put in that space there. Just like that. So 3 rounds, 3 more rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you should have 104 stitches at the end of every round. Okay, once you made it all the way around, after that 3 rounds of single crochet and you're back to your stitch marker, you can pull it out and go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we'll tie that off like that, and we can hide that tail. And now we're going to add the handles. So what you want to do is take your length, your 6-foot length of rope that you got, and cut it in half. Now it's good when you cut it in half to tape the ends up tight, which with some kind of tape. You can take it off later, but if you don't, then it ends up kind of like this, which is fine. I'll probably leave it like this, but it just makes it harder to get to through the hole. But anyways, now you got 2-3 feet lengths of rope, and you just want to take it and from the behind, it's going to be a tight fit, pull it through your first hole here like that, and then you can do the same for the other side, which I didn't tape up very good because I wanted to show you that that's what it looked like if you didn't tape it up, but I just kind of drag it all in there. There we go. Now once you get your handles, that's about as long as you want them. What we're going to do is tie these, get these equal here, and then we're just going to tie them in a knot, a big knot. So we'll just take it and wrap it around, tie it real tight, as tight as you can get it. Like that. Do the same on the other one. You can take the tape off too. I'll have to take the tape off this one to get it even. Just have that to show you, then it's easier just to hold it together that way. But make that real tight, like that. And now you can untangle them or untape them. My husband did this. He cut this for me, taped it up all weird. I think he likes to make it hard on me sometimes. Just make sure that it's real tight, like that. That you're not super tight. If you wanted to add an extra strength to the knot, which I think it'd probably be okay, but if you wanted to, you could dab some hot glue in between, but that's probably not even necessary. I'm cutting this. Okay. Now you can undo that. Now you can, I like to pull mine all out like that so they're all dangling. And you can cut them a little shorter if you want, which I'll probably trim mine up but just a little bit. But that's what you want to do on both sides. It's just a knot. And you want to make sure, try to get both handles the same size. So do this on the other side too. I'll trim these up maybe a little bit shorter, but I like them kind of dangling. That's really just your preference. But I'm going to get my other handle on. Hi everybody, it's Crystal. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this bag here, which is made with the star stitch. And it's worked in a round. And I know if you've watched other videos of other YouTubers making the star stitch in the round, everybody does it different. So this is how I do it. So this is the way I do it. So it's probably going to be different than the way you've seen it before. 550 yards or so, because it's a little bit bigger of a bag than what I usually make. And I'm used a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, first we're going to start on the base of the bag. And the base of the bag it's real easy. It's just rows of single crochet. You want to start with a chain of 45. I already did my base, so I'm going to show you on a smaller scale. But once you get your chain of 45, you want to put a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and then one single crochet in every stitch for the length of your chain. Okay, when you make it to the end of your row, you should have 44 single crochets. So you want to chain one and turn. That chain one does not count as anything. So we're going to go right back here in the very first stitch and single crochet. And now we're just going to again do one single crochet in every stitch. And this is all the base is. This is rows of single crochet. Back and forth, and you should have 44 single crochets at the end of every row. Let me make it to the end here. And again, when you make it to the end, you want to just chain one and turn. And again, you just start again with this very first stitch with one single crochet in every stitch for the length of the row. And you want to do a total of 18 rows of one single crochet in every stitch. Okay, once you get your 18 rows done, now what you want to do is chain one, and now we're going to work around it with a row of single crochet. So I'm going to start my first single crochet right here in the same stitch as this last one, like that. And I'm going to put one single crochet in every stitch down this side here. You want to make sure that since we had 18 rows, that you get the correct number of stitches. Let's see. And right here in this last stitch, which is my 18th stitch, it's actually the other side of the beginning chain. I'm going to put 2 single crochets right there. Now I'm going to work down this long side, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. Just like this. So basically I'm just putting 1 single crochet in every stitch, and I'm putting 2 single crochets in the corners, in each of the 4 corners. So I'm just going to continue putting 1 single crochet down here. Oh, my yarn's tingling. Down this long side, and then I'll put 2 in the corner, and then 1 single crochet up the short side, 2 in the corner, and then all the way back to my starting point. Okay, I made it back around to my starting point, and here's my last stitch. I want to go ahead and put 2 single crochets in that last stitch right here. And then I'll show you what you want to do. Slip stitch. You want to slip stitch in the first single crochet, which is that we did in that round, which is actually this one right here. This is the single crochet from this row up here, so it doesn't count. So we're going to slip stitch into this one, and then when you count this one right here, this is from the other row. So this one is the first one we did. You should have a total of 126 stitches, single crochets all the way around, like that. And that's the base, so it's made. And now we're going to work on the star stitches. So we're just going to continue along. We're not going to tie off or anything. Okay, I'm going to continue on the star stitches, and I'm going to chain 1. Okay, that chain 1 doesn't count as anything, okay? So I'm going to go back into the exact same stitch and draw up a loop. Like that. And I'm going to draw up a loop in the next 4 stitches. That. And the next one. And the next one. next one. And when you do that, you should have 6 loops on your hook, and I do. And I'm going to yarn over and go through all 6 of the loops that are on my hook, and I'm going to chain 1. So that's the first star. Now I'm going to make the next one. This is kind of how they all get made now. You go right back in to the eye, or the center of the star, and you draw up a loop from that. Like that. And now this next loop right here, go kind of in the back side of it. So this loop is still visible, so just like right back here. The back side of this loop. So right there. And then you draw up a loop. And now you're going to draw up a loop in this next stitch, which is actually the same stitch that this loop was drawn up in. Like that. And now we're going to draw up a loop in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. And again, you'll have 6 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 6 and chain 1 to lock it. Just like that. Now we're going to go again. So we're going to repeat that again. So I'm going to go right back into the eye and draw up a loop. Now I'm going to go into, see this last loop right here? This one. I'm going to go on the back side of it. So if you flip it, you should see this small loop right here. And grab it. It's kind of tight, but, and draw up a loop. And the next one is I'm going to draw up a loop in this stitch, which is actually the same stitch that this loop was drawn up in from the previous star. And then drop a loop in the next 2 stitches. 6 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 6 and chain 1. So that's how we make the star stitch. And I'm just going to continue making these stars all the way around. Again, I'm going to go right back into the eye of the loop. And then this loop of the star, I'm going to do the back side of it, the back loop of it, which is right back here. It's kind of tight, but right there. And draw up a loop. And then the next stitch is this stitch down here that this last loop of the previous star was in. And then the next 2 stitches, draw up a loop like that. 6 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 6 loops, chain 1. Now I'm going to do that all the way around, just star stitches until I get back to the beginning. So again, back in that same spot, draw up a loop. This last loop, the back loop of it, which is right back here. That one right there. And draw up a loop. And then this stitch, which is the same stitch as the previous star. And then the next 2. 6 loops. Yarn over, go through all 6. And chain 1. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Just keep doing my stars until I get back to the beginning. And they'll get easier once you continue to do them. And I'm just going to go around the corner, just doing star stitches around the corner. That back loop is the hardest one to get. It's so tight, but once you get around, you'll notice that maybe it's going to starts to flip up a little bit to form the sides of the bag, and that's what you want. So I'm just going to continue doing my stars all the way around here until I get back to my first star. Okay, I'm coming to my last star that I can do here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to end it here. Go into the eye and the back loop of that. The same stitch as this one, and then the next two stitches, you can tell there's only going to be one stitch left right here. This is the first stitch right here, that chain one and stuff that we did in the very beginning. So there's one stitch left, and that's right, that's like how it's supposed to be. So you go into it and draw up a loop, but you need to have 6 loops on your hook, so you go right into the same stitch that our very first star stitch started in, and that will be that'll make your last loop there and finish that star out. Like that. And now to end it, the round, we're going to slip stitch right here in the first loop of this star, of the very first star, and then that ends the round. Okay, on this next row, technically when you do the star stitch like by the books, it's done with single crochet on this next row, but I don't like to always do things by the book. It's no fun that way, so I'm going to do a little bit different. I like to actually do this round with half double. I think it looks better that way. So what you're going to do is, where we just slip stitched, we're going to chain one, and that chain one does not count as anything at all. But we're going to go right back into that slip stitch, and we're going to put 2 half double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. Now we're going to work 2 half double crochets in every single one of the eyes all the way around. Right here is the only time that we put 2 half doubles that's not an eye, just at the beginning. We have to do that to make the stitches work out. So now I'm going to jump over here to the eye of the next star and put 2 half doubles. And then the next eye of the star, 2 half doubles. And the next eye, 2 half doubles. And I'm going to repeat this, putting 2 half doubles in every single one of the star's eyes all the way around until I get back to my starting point. And when you get back to your starting point, you should have 126 half double crochets. Okay, I made it all the way around here, and getting ready to put my last 2 half double crochets right here in the last eye of this star. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see, but it's that one right there. And I counted, and I do have 126 half doubles, so I'm good to go to start the next round. And now it's just kind of a repeat now of a star row and a half double crochet row, a star row and a half double crochet row. But we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch and do our first half double to end that round. And now we'll start our star row again. So we're going to start by chaining 1. That chaining 1 does not count as anything. So go right back into that same stitch, drop a loop, and drop a loop in the next 4 stitches. So you'll have 6 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 6 loops, chain 1. Again, I'm going to start my next star by going through the eye of the star, the back loop of this one, so right back here, drop a loop, the next stitch that is the same one as that loop, and then the next 2. 6 loops, yarn over, go through all 6, chain 1, and that is what I'm going to do all the way around. Just make my star row again. It'll start getting easier the more you do. So I'm just going to work my way around now, doing my star row again. And I'll have a total of 62 stars again at the end of this row. Just like I did before. There we go. So I'm going to go around and I'll meet you back over here. Okay, I'm coming up to my last star here. I'm just going to go ahead and work it here. And remember, we're only going to have 1 stitch left. But the last loop of the star is going to go into the first loop of this first star. So in the same stitch. I know it looks like that's a stitch, but that's not a stitch. That's the slip stitch from the other round. So right here in the same spot as this one. And draw through all the loops. Chain 1. And then we're going to slip stitch and right here on the side of this star. And then we're going to start the next round of half doubles right here in the same spot. So we just chain 1 and we go ahead and put 2 half doubles right back in that same stitch. And remember, that is the only spot that gets 2 half doubles that's not the eye. And then we jump right here to the eye of the next star. We do 2 half doubles. And the eye of the next star, 2 half doubles. In the eye of the next star, 2 half doubles. And we're just going to keep going around repeating these 2 rows, the star row and the half double row, for as tall as we want the bag to be. Okay, I went ahead and finished as tall as I want mine to be. Now remember, you can make yours taller, you just might need more yarn than what I said in the beginning, but I went ahead and did from the very first star row, counting the star rows and the half double crochet rows, I did 19. Let me count to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I ended in a star row. So now I'm going to start row 20. And I went ahead and I just slip stitched into that beginning star like we did. Now instead of doing a row of half double crochets, I'm actually going to do single crochet this row. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and I'm going to go back in that same stitch and put 2 single crochets like that. And now for each eye of the star, it'll be 2 single crochets this time. So it's just like the half double row, putting them in the eyes of the stars, only we're just using single crochets this time. And this is just going to finish the top of the bag off before we put the handles on. And when you get back around, you should still have 126 single crochets. Okay, when you make it all the way around, after that round of single crochet, and you have 126 single crochets, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your very first one. Not the chain 1, but the single crochet. And then you're going to clip this and tie it off. And you can hide that tail if you want. Then we'll go ahead and get started on the handles. Okay, now I'm marking off for the handles. So you're going to need 8 stitch markers. I'm just going to use this yarn that I have. Now we'll find where we left off. Right here is where we left off, where we tied off. Now I'm going to count over, starting with the one that we left off, 28 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Now I'm going to put a stitch marker. Then I'm going to continue counting. 29, 30, 31, 32. Put a stitch marker. And I'm just going to continue counting. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Put a stitch marker. 52, 53, 54, 55. Put a stitch marker. Okay, continue counting. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. Put a stitch marker. 92, 93, 94, 95. Put a stitch marker. Continue counting. 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 114. Put a stitch marker. 115, 116, 117, 118. Put a stitch marker. And then we're at 119, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. That was all 126 stitches. So that is where we were going to put our handles, in between these stitch markers. So actually you should have, if you look here, 35 stitches between these stitch markers and 35 between this side, and then in the middle you should have 18 here and 18 here. So that equals 126 with 5 taken up in between. So that's what you should have. And now for the handles. If you want to make long or short handles, it's completely up to you. You can even buy handles, but for mine, I'm just going to make some basic handles here. I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. And I'm going to start off, but I want to start with a longer tail. That way I can sew it onto my handle later with a slip knot. Now I'm going to make my chain for as long as I want my handle to be. So I'm just going to start chaining. Okay, I went ahead and chained 62, but remember you can do yours however long or short you want. But you want to make both handles the same. So after you get your chain done, you want to go ahead and half double crochet in the third stitch from the hook. We don't count this one, so 1, 2, 3. And the handles are going to be real easy. I'm going to put 1 half double crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. Just like this. All the way to the end. And then when you make it to the end, I'm just going to chain 1 and turn. Starting in this very first stitch, I'm going to half double. And I'm going to work my way back down, putting 1 half double crochet in every stitch again. Just like this, all the way back to the other side. Okay, when you come to the end here, you want to make sure you go into this little last chain here. It kind of counts as a stitch, so I guess it doesn't really matter because you're not really going to be able to see that. But then go ahead and tie this off, but leave a longer tail on this one too, so we can sew it on. So what you want to do now is get your yarn needle out and sew it on with our yarn needle in between these stitch markers here. So just kind of take your tail here and put it on the yarn needle. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just kind of sew it. If there's a side of the handle you like better, have the good side facing up. I'm just going to kind of sew it right in between the stitches, like that. Maybe just down just a little bit here, so you can see. I'll put it just a little bit, like that, hanging over. And then I'm just going to sew it onto the bag, right in between. Kind of through the top here. That way it's not going to be exactly in between, but as you can see, I just use them to kind of mark, so you can kind of get it kind of right, kind of even, I guess, but it doesn't have to be exact. But oh, I got my stitch marker in there. You can move these stitch markers now if you want, on that side of the handle anyways. But you want to sew it good and tight, so go across it quite a few times. Just sewing it like this. That's what I'm doing. If you have another way though, whatever works best for you, but this is always how I do it. Just to make sure it's good. It's not going to fall off. Keep going back and forth on it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to bring it over and use the tail and sew it the same way in between these two stitch markers like that. So this handle will be done, and then I'll make the other handle and do the back the same way. Okay, I finished sewing on my handles, and that is it. That is all there is to it. It turned out pretty good. I hope you were able to follow along okay. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to tune in. Until next time, have a good day. Everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this bag here. It's super quick, super easy to adjust it to any size that you'd like. Great beginner bag. I'm making this, hashtagging this the modern day market bag. It's super cool, doesn't it? I mean, I like to take it to Walmart and sack up some groceries. If I got a few groceries, this would be great to sack them up in. So let me give you some measurements. So across it is just about 20 inches. And if I measure down to where the bottom base goes, it's about 12. Make it bigger or smaller if you choose. It's super easy. All you need to know how to do is single crochet and half double crochet. I purchased these handles off of Amazon, so you can look on there. They have tons of handles. I get a lot of my handles from Amazon, and these are just some decoratives I had to put on. Of course, you don't have to do that, but not only would this work well for a cool market bag, yarn carrying bag, project bag, diaper bag, all kinds of things, because it's got such the size on it. And you think this yarn, this blanket yarn, would be heavy, but it's not. It's actually a lightweight yarn, but yeah, it's still really strong. I like it. I think it turned out nice. The print's pretty cool. You guys want to go ahead and get started on it? Let's do it. Hey, I'll put a I didn't line this, but I will put a I mentioned at the end, it's a tutorial of how to line a bag at the end. I'll put a link to that so you can learn how to line it if you choose. Okay, so for this project, I used Lion Brand's Cover Story yarn. It says make an napkin with just one cake. Well, I made a bag with less than one cake. It is it's a 100% polyester blanket type of yarn, and it is a super bulky number 6. Now, of course, you don't have to use this yarn. any size yarn you want will work. But if you want it to be, you know, like I said, a modern day, a marked bag, cool lifer bag, I don't know. You might want to use a bulky 6. But, you know, if you don't have that, you want to use a 4-weight or something, sure, you can adjust your chain length because it's really easy to adjust. Now, that is not the color that I used. I used this one right here. Looks like a calico kitty, doesn't it? The color I used is called Oro. O-R-O. I'm sorry, I don't have the tag for it anymore. So there were 546 yards per, or 547 yards per cake, and this is what I have left. Probably half a cake, maybe a little bit more. I'm sure I could crochet another bag exactly the same and still have more left. So up 250 yards of 200 to 250 yards of a bulky 6 blanket yarn like this to make this bag. And I did say when I made something out of it, I would let you know how many knots were in it. Now, this is what I have left, and I did find 2 very small knots. They weren't anything to be concerned with. I crocheted them right in, and you can't even tell that they were there. So that's what I found in the amount of yarn that I used. And then I'm going to be using a size N, which is a 9mm crochet hook. Some ends are 10mm, and that would be fine too. So like I said, this is very, very easy. We will start off with the base. Now, if you want to make it the same size as mine, as I mentioned, I'm going to start off with a chain of 31 stitches. If you're using a smaller yarn, you just chain any number of chains until you get the base the size that you want to be. There's no stitch multiple. It can be any number that you wish. I'm going to show you on a smaller scale because I already got my big scale done, or my big piece done. So once you get your chain of 31 done, follow me, you want to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we just do 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to the end of our row. Remember, we're working on the base. And once you make it to the end of your row, which I'm almost there, we will do a row 2. We'll chain 1 and turn. Row 2 will be the repeat row. All it is just we single crochet into this very, very first stitch and 1 single crochet in every stitch across. You should have 30 stitches at the end of row 1, and you'll have 30 stitches at the end of row 2. And we'll keep repeating row 2. All we're doing now for the base is rows of single crochet. When you get to the end of row 2, you chain 1 and turn, and you start again. 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end. You'll always have 30 stitches at the end of every row. Just like that. Row 3, chain 1, turn, and start again. You want to repeat this until you get a total of 8 rows of single crochet for your base. Now that's how many I'm doing. You can do more if you choose. That's however big you want your base to be. But I'm going to do 8 rows of single crochet, and then we will go around it and edge it, and then we'll work our bag up. You'll have this bag done in no time. Okay, so I have 8 rows finished here of single crochet. If you want to make your base bigger, that's fine. This pattern is really easy, and it's really easy to adjust to your liking. You know, you can make a bigger base, a smaller base, because there's really no certain stitch count. So even if you make a mistake, it's probably not going to even be noticeable. Okay, especially with this big yarn. Let me give you a measurement on mine though, just in case. So right now, my base at 8 rows is just about 5.5 inches. Okay, now what we're going to do is go around the whole base with a row of single crochet. So do not tie off after your 8th row. What we're going to do is chain 1. Now I'm going to go down this side here, working 1 single crochet, kind of in the, between the, when I work on the sides, I go in between the last and the second to the last stitch. So remember, you'll have 8 rows. So here's the last stitch that we just did. So we're going to go to the next one. It's kind of hard to see with this, but just do your best. Remember, stitch count's not really that important. So if we make a mistake, no one's going to know. That's really a good thing about a bit thick yarn like this. Mistakes are very forgiving, which is what I like. So when you get down here to your last stitch, which will actually be the first stitch of the bottom row here, go ahead and put 3 single crochets in that, and that's going to kind of round out that corner a bit. Just like that. And now I'll work across the bottom here. And I'll put 1 single crochet in every stitch. You'll probably be able to see the stitches a little bit better where they need to go. But again, just do your best to try to hit every stitch if you can. Now you work this 1 single crochet here across the bottom until you get to your next corner. Alright, so I've made it to my other corner here, and as you can see, here's the tail from where we first started. So we're going to go into that stitch, and again, we're going to put 3 single crochets in it to help round out that corner. Still might pop up a bit, but that's fine. I'm going to turn my work here. We're going to work down the short side now, doing our best, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch here. Like I said, I usually go in between the last stitch there, second and last, between the first and you know what I mean, the last stitch and the last stitch in the next one, and put my single crochet all the way up here. And then when you make it up here to the top corner, we're going to put our 3 single crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now we're going to go around or across the top. This is where we started. So we're going to continue by putting 1 single crochet in every stitch across the top. And if you are using this yarn, I know it's kind of hard to see where your stitches need to go. That's why I tried to create an easy pattern that if you did miss a stitch, it's not really going to matter. So I'm going to continue 1 single crochet across until I make it to my, right over here where we started. Alright, now when you make it to your last stitch down here, we're going to go ahead and put 3 single crochets into that. Just like that. Now, that'll end that round where we went around the edge with single crochet. Now you can see my edges are flipping up. It's okay. We're not going to worry about that. I'm not going to count my stitches because, like I said, the amount of stitches that you have isn't really a factor. So I would just say evenly space out, you know, on that row, on that round, just evenly space out the single crochets the best that you can, and working 3 single crochets in each of the 4 corners. Now you're going to need a stitch marker. I'm going to use this piece of yarn here. Now we're just going to be working half double crochets. So I'm going to put my stitch marker here. That way I know where I end and where I begin. So instead of ending each round with a slip stitch, we're going to be working in a continual round of half double crochet. Therefore, there will be no visible seam. That's always good. You know, that's always a plus. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out in our first stitch in half double crochet. And we're going to half double crochet in every stitch. Just like this. Okay, and when you get to the corner where you did your 3 single crochets in the previous round, we're not going to do anything special. No extra stitches. It's just 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches. So nothing special in the corners. This round right here is actually the repeat round for the bag. Well, at least until we get to the main portion of the bag. Might decide to do something different at the top. You never know. But this will be the main repeat. So 1 half double crochet in every stitch. Remember, including the corners, nothing special at the corners right now, until we get back to our stitch marker. And I'll meet back up with you when we make it there. Now we are going to count this as row 1. Since it's half double crochets, the base is done. We went around the base with single crochet. We did, you know, it's finished. So we're going to count this half double crochet row right now as row 1 of the main portion of the bag. That way we don't get lost and we can keep track of how many rows we do. So right now I'm on row 1 of the bag's main portion. And I'm going to continue around working 1 half double in every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. I'll see you there. Alright, row number 1 is done. As you can see, this bag probably won't take you too long if you're using this big yarn. So I've made it back to my stitch marker. So what I'm going to do now is move my stitch marker up to start round 2, which is actually just a repeat of row 1. And I move my stitch marker up. Now this is what we do on every row from now on until we get some height on our bag. Now we are going to just jump to our next half double crochet and put a half double crochet into it. So therefore there will be no seam. And now we continue around putting 1 half double crochet in every stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. We make it back, move our stitch marker up, and start again. Now, if you prefer to count your stitches each round, just to make sure, you know, I didn't count mine, but to make sure that you're still keeping the same amount of stitches, you want to make sure that you do that. Keep the same amount of stitches. You can definitely do that. I'm going to try to wing it. I think I can see my stitches well enough to keep the same amount. But, yeah, this is it. Half doubles all the way around. Half double, half double, half double. Till we get back to our stitch marker. Move it up. Half double, all the way around again till we get back to our stitch marker. It's not going to take long. I'm going to keep going until I get my bag a little bit bigger. Look at that, already getting some height. I'll see you in a second. Alright, I am back and I have done a total of 10 rows of half double crochet. Do more if you want. You can do less if you want. That's completely up to you. Now, if your bag's looking a little like, you know, and like maybe when you put handles on it, like the sides are going to flap open and stuff, that's okay. I'm going to do a round of decreases here at the top to help pull the top together. So I made it back to my stitch marker. Now remember, the number of stitches you have does not matter. So go ahead and move your stitch marker up. Now we're going to work some single crochets. Okay. So I'm going to work 4 single crochets in a row. And then I'll work a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and single crochet. And I want to do 4 in a row. So that was 1, 2, 3, and there's 4. And now I'll do a single crochet decrease, and it's worked over 2 stitches in case you're not familiar with it. So what we do is we go into the next stitch and draw up a loop, and then we go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 loops. So that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. So that's the pattern we're going to repeat now all the way around. I'm on round 11. 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we single crochet decrease over the next 2. So we go into the next one and draw up a loop, and then the next one, draw up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and go through all 3, just like that. I'm going to repeat that one more time. 1 single crochet into the next 4. So that was 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And then single crochet decrease over the next 2. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. Okay, I've made it back around, and it does not matter how many stitches you have left. Just go ahead and keep repeating that pattern, whether you end in a decrease, whether you end with a decrease and then 2 single crochets left over. It doesn't matter what you have. Just go ahead and finish that out to your stitch marker. Go ahead and move your stitch marker up. I'm going to do one more round, which would be round 12 for me, and it's just going to be 1 round of single crochet all the way around. So no decreasing, just 1 round of single crochet, 1 in every stitch until I make it back to my stitch marker. This will be my final round. Apologize if I got off camera. Sometimes I have to look above my camera because it hurts my eyes to crochet through it, and then I get off camera a bit. Sorry about that. But anyways, this is the last round. 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get back to your starting point, or back to your stitch marker, and then I'll show you how to end it and add the handles and whatnot. Alright, I've made it back to my stitch marker. You can see my stitch marker there. What I'm going to do is go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, like that. And I'll slip stitch one more time into the next one, just to even it out a bit. And I'm going to pull up. You can take that stitch marker out, and I'm going to clip this yarn. Now, if you have a big needle to hide this tail, you can. But what I like to do to hide this thick stuff is I just use my hook and kind of weave it in around the top as best as I can. Sometimes it's hard to hide this stuff with only a yarn needle. So I'm just going to do this kind of around the top here. You can go on the inside if you want, so it's not quite so visible. Hide it along the inside. Just get it weaved in there to where you think it's not going to come undone. and then you can clip it off. Alright, now it's easy to apply these handles. Now remember, I purchased these handles off Amazon, as I mentioned in the beginning. I will leave a link below where I purchased them. It's not affiliated. I don't make money if you buy them. I don't care if you buy them. I don't care if you use these handles. You can buy different handles. You can use your own handles. Make your own. Just make some straps. Put them on here. You can make one long one, two long ones, two short ones. It's really, possibilities are endless on as far as handles go. Amazon is where I always go to purchase handles, or I go to resale shops and get them off old bags. But if you do have handles similar to this, or you want to make your own, go ahead and make it and lay your bag out to where it's just about even. As you can tell from the bottom, here's my base. Try to get it as even as possible. And all I do is eyeball it. I'm going to use these, and I'm just going to hook them on. That second row, is it the second row of single crochet? No, I got them hooked on the first row of single crochet. Now I'm going to try to get about the same distance between this as there is over here. So just kind of do some counting. It's not going to be perfect because, you know, you're eyeballing it. If you want it to be more exact, if you want to go down to the second row of single crochet, that's fine. But if you want it to be more exact, you can count it out perfectly. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put them in the same spot on the other side. You know, like I said, just kind of, it's not going to be perfect, but I'll do my best to get it as close as I can. It's homemade. Not perfect when it's homemade. There we go. There we go. Okay, once you get done, you got your handles on. I put these on here. This is just paparazzi jewelry. One of my friends, actually, from YouTube, my very first subscriber, sells paparazzi jewelry. So when I buy it off her, I don't wear necklaces, but I always use them to decorate some of my crochet items. So it works well for me. I also have this long chain. Bought at Amazon. If you want to have two handles, you could hook it to the side like that. But that's it. That's all there is to it. I think it turned out really well. Now, if you make this, show me a picture. I'd like to see it. Come follow me on Instagram. Link below. Follow me on Instagram. Tag me in a picture. Show me what you're making. Just follow me, hashtag Bagoday Crochet. Anything that you make of mine, anything you're not making of mine, any yarn you get, anything you think I would like to see, tag me in it. I like Instagram, and I like to see other people's stuff. Now, if you want to line this bag, I'm not going to line it, but I do have a tutorial how to do this. So I'm going to put a link on the screen of another bag that I have that is will show you how to line a bag like this. Just fast forward it to the end to where I start lining, and it'll show you how to line a bag that has a flat bottom like this. So you can put plastic canvas in it if you want, you know, to make it more sturdier, and then put a liner in it. But that's it. I hope everybody enjoyed. Have a good day. Stay safe. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this bag here. Show you a little bit about it. It has plastic canvas on the bottom, so the bottom is nice and sturdy. It won't stretch out. It's made with 100% cotton, which is also stronger, so it shouldn't stretch that bad, if at all. I wouldn't think it would even really stretch. It's kind of a three-dimensional look, as you can see. I made it all in the yellow, and then I went back and added the white later to give it some three-dimensional stripes. It's got a couple short handles on here that I just homemade handles. Now you can make different handles, you know, if you don't like these. That's up to you. It would look good with the long ones or whatever you wanted. In addition to what you need, you're also going to need a couple buttons if you want buttons. That's up to you. But I did get these buttons at Walmart in the button aisle. They sparkle. They were in a sack of buttons. So you're going to need 4 of those. 2 for here and 2 for the other side if you choose to do that. Size-wise, I don't have a tape measure, but I'm gonna guess, not, you know, across, it's probably about 15 by 16 tall, maybe. That's just an estimate. It's not really too small of a bag, you know. It'd make a nice beach bag. It would hold quite a bit of stuff. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, for this project, I used Peaches and Cream, which is a medium 4 100% cotton yarn. Now, you do not have to use cotton. If you used acrylic, it's going to look the same. But I think if you're making it for like a beach bag or something, cotton would be much preferable yarn, because for one thing, if it gets wet at the beach, it's going to dry faster than acrylic. And another thing, cotton does make it a little bit more of a stronger bag, but it's not necessary. Any medium 4 ply will work, but if you are using it for a beach bag, I do recommend the cotton. So I had one of the big cones, and I believe they have close to about 700 yards in them, and this is what I have left. So we're probably going to need, to guess, 500 yards of your main color. And then I used white, 2 little whites. I used one whole one, and this is what I got left of the other one. And there are 120 yards in each, so probably 200 yards of white, 220 yards or something like that of white, or whatever color you choose of your secondary color. And then I think I mentioned in the beginning, but you're going to need some buttons if you choose 4 buttons that match. You're going to need a piece of plastic canvas to put on the bottom to make it stronger. You can get this at Walmart. I bought this at Walmart. It's actually at my Walmart, it's in the yarn aisle at the very end by the crochet hooks. And I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. And I want to ask you not to forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. That way you never miss a tutorial that I do, or any of my giveaways, or yarn shopping trips, or anything like that. All kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to start on the base first. So you want to start with a slip knot on your hook. And now I already did mine, so I'm going to show you in a smaller scale. But what you want to do is chain 46. Now this is for the base that we're starting on. I'm just going to show you smaller because it's actually a really easy bag. Once you get your chain of 46 done, you want to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and then 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of your chain. Okay, once you make it to the end of row 1, remember mine's smaller because I'm just showing you on a smaller scale, but you should have a total of 45 stitches. And then what we're going to do for row 2 is just chain 1 and turn, and we're going to single crochet right here into this very first stitch. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet in every single stitch until the end of the row. So all it is just rows of single crochet for the base. It's actually really easy. And when you make it to the end of the row, or end of row 2, you should still have a total of 45 stitches. And now all you want to do is just keep repeating that. So row 3 will just chain 1 and turn, single crochet in the very first stitch, 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of the row. And when you make it to the end, you should have 45 stitches again. And you want to keep repeating your rows of single crochet, 45 stitches at the end of each row until you reach a total of 15 rows. Okay, once you get your 15 rows of single crochet done, we're going to go around the whole piece with single crochet to clean up all these edges. So don't tie off after that last row, and don't turn your work either. So once you finish there with your last stitch, go ahead and chain 1. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch down the side here. So you can kind of see where they got to go, just right on the end of every row. I kind of just go right in between that last single crochet at the end of every row. Okay, now when you come down here to your stitch here, last stitch or the first stitch up here, whichever you want to say, what we're going to do is put 3 single crochets in that corner. So right in the same stitch, we're going to put 3 single crochets. Now by putting 3 single crochets in that same stitch, it's going to allow the corner to lay more flat instead of popping up. Now I'm going to continue along this long side here of the base, working 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you should be able to see the where the single crochets need to go pretty well now across this long side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, 1 single in every stitch until I get over here to the next corner. Okay, I've made it over here to the other corner right here. And you want to go ahead and put 3 single crochets into that corner. And now we're going to continue on this other short side, working 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way down. Remember, it's just kind of at the end of every row. So where you need to put your single crochet. And then right up here, this first stitch up here, we're going to put 3 single crochets, and that is going to be our corner stitch. Like that. And now I'm going to continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch all across the long side at the top until we get back to where we started. Okay, I've made it back to where I started, and here was my last stitch on this side. You want to put 3 single crochets into this last stitch right up here. Like that. And now what you want to do is skip, this is the chain 1 that we made. You want to skip, don't do anything with that. You want to go slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made right here on the side. So go right into that and slip stitch. Now you should have a total of 126 stitches. If you don't have that, don't worry about it, because stitch count, it doesn't really matter for this bag. So 125 is, or 126 is what you should have if you know, like I said, if you have, as long as it's close to that, that'll be fine. Go ahead and tie that off. Now what you want to do is make 2 pieces exactly the same, which I have already done that. Cut my tails off here. Okay, now we're going to sew these 2 pieces together. Now you want to take your plastic canvas and you want to cut it to where it fits like this, to where about 1 row single crochet hangs over all 4 sides. So kind of like that. It doesn't have to be exactly, but just about like that. And we're going to slip that in after we sew it together, and that's going to give it a nice sturdy bottom. But we're going to go ahead and take it out for now after you get it cut, and we're going to sew these together. So put one with the wrong side facing up right here, and the other with the right side facing up. That way when they're together, both right sides are facing up. And now we're going to start sewing them together. Now I'm just going to single crochet them together. So you can start your yarn wherever you want. I'll probably just start right around in the corner somewhere. Now what you want to do is take a stitch, try to get the matching stitch. So I think I'll start, here's the 3 I put in the corner. I think I'm going to start in the next one. And I'm going to do the same over here. So I'm going to look for the 3 that I put in the corner and start in the next one. So right here. Just going to kind of look for it. That way your piece matches up. Go ahead and pull your yarn through and chain 1. Now go right back into those same 2 stitches that you just started your yarn in and single crochet. And now I'm going to single crochet these together all the way around. So I'm going to go into the next stitch on this piece and the next stitch on the back piece and single crochet, and then the next stitch here, and then the next stitch on the back. Make sure you look and you're getting the right stitch, because sometimes it's hard to see. Single crochet. I'm going to do this all the way around my piece. Just matching up the stitches and then single crocheting them together. So it's pretty easy. Now I'm going around the corner. I don't put any extra stitches. It's just one single crochet in each of the stitches like that to sew them together. Just like that. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around until I get probably over here to here. And then I'm going to not sew this up. I'll slip this in and then I'll finish sewing it up. So I'll crochet around until I get over here, and then I'll meet back up with you and we'll slip this piece in real quick. Okay, I've made it all around these 3 sides, sewn it together, and now I'm going to take my piece of plastic here, plastic canvas, stick it in there. Make sure it kind of fits down into the corners. Here we go. Now I'm going to finish sewing up the rest of it the same way we've been doing. Just single crocheting it together until I get back to the beginning. And then we'll have a nice strong base to start out with. Start making our bag on. Okay, once you make it back around, and you still should have 126 stitches. Remember, if you don't, that's no big deal. Not gonna hurt anything. So we'll go ahead and end with a slip stitch into our first single crochet over here. Just like that. Now we're gonna start the bag. The base is done, so it's nice and strong. Nothing's gonna sag through the bottom. Now we're going to start building the bag up. So we're going to start by chaining 1, and I'm going to put a double crochet right back into that same stitch. So we'll just call this row 1 or round 1 of the bag, okay? Round 1. Round 1 is going to be 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way around the entire bag. 1 double. There's nothing special that you have to do at the corners. It's just 1 double in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. Just like that. All the way around to get back to your starting point. Okay, I have made it all the way around, and I still have my 126 stitches. Now, remember, it's okay if you didn't have 126, but as long as you had somewhere close to that. But whatever number you have, you need to have now at the end of every row. So, if you had 125, you need to keep 125. If you had 126, you need to keep having 126. And you know what I mean. But now what we're going to do is slip stitch into our first double crochet, but we're going to slip stitch into the back loop of it. So you see that the stitch has 2 loops. The one closest to me is the front loop, and the one furthest is the back loop. I'm going to go just into that back loop, and I'm going to slip stitch, and then I'm going to start again with row 2 by chaining 1 and going right back into that same stitch and double crocheting. And now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch, but I'm only going to work in the back loops of every stitch. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, and I'm going to go right into that back loop only. So you're only going through 1 loop now, the back one, and I'm going to double crochet. The next stitch, right through that back loop, double crochet. And this is what I'm going to do for round 2. All the way around until I get back to the beginning. 1 double crochet in the back loop only. And what this is doing is creating a little decorative, I guess, kind of ridge on your piece. So I'm going to continue going around, working 1 double crochet into the back loop only of every stitch. Now, if your piece, don't get discouraged if it's not looking like a bag. Look at mine. Mine does not look like a bag yet. And it's not going to look like a bag until you get several more rows on. So I have a lot of people that they start making my bags or anything, you know, and they'll ask me why it's not looking like mine. You really need to work on it for quite a while to get it to form up into a bag. And even at the end, I'll do some things to make it stand up even more. So if yours is laying flat and it's floppy, don't worry about it. As long as you have the same number of stitches at the end of every round, you're doing it correctly. And it will turn out as long as you follow along with me to the end. So I'm just going to keep working 1 double crochet in the back loop only of every stitch until I get back to the beginning. And this is row 2 of the bag part that we're on, or round 2. Okay, I've made it all the way around again, and you should have the same amount of stitches every round. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep repeating round 2. So we're just going to end it by slip stitching into the back loop of the very first double crochet. And then we're going to chain 1 and go right back into that same stitch and double crochet. And I'm going to put 1 double crochet in the back loop of every stitch all the way around. So it's actually really easy. We're just going to keep repeating the last round that we did. 1 double crochet into the back loop of every stitch. And we're going to continue doing rounds of this You should always have the same number of stitches at the end of every round. And remember, it's not going to look like a bag. Don't worry about it. It's not looking like a bag. We'll fix that up later. I promise. I won't let you down. Follow me to the end. As long as you got the same amount of stitches, it's going to look like a bag when we're finished. So, just keep on going. Working rounds of 1 double crochet, back loop only, in every stitch. And we're going to keep doing this until we get the bag quite a bit taller. Now, I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do. I'm on row 3 now. But I'm going to go ahead and finish it up, and I'll let you know here in just a second how many total rows I do. Okay, I went ahead and done 14 rows total of the double crochet. So that's counting that very first row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, now after your 14th row, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into our first double crochet, but we're not going to just go through the back loop. We're going to go through both loops. Like that. Now we're going to start decreasing the top a little bit. And it's okay if your seam looks a little bit gappy. We'll take care of that later when we go around these front loops. So you want to start off by chaining 1. Okay, what we're going to do is put 4 single crochets in a row, and then we're going to do a single crochet decrease. Now remember, we're not working in back loops anymore. We're going to be going just normally through both loops. So 4 in a row, we're going to go, our first one's going to be right back into the same stitch. So go ahead and single crochet right back into that same stitch. Single crochet into the next 3. So that'd be 4 in a row. And now we're going to decrease over the next 2. A single crochet decrease is worked over 2 stitches. So we're going to go into the next stitch and drop a loop. And then we're going to go into the next one after that and drop a loop. And then we're going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops on your hook. And that's a single crochet decrease. That took 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now we're going to kind of repeat that pattern all the way around. So we're going to put 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, drop a loop, and then into the next one, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through all 3 loops on your hook. Again, 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go into the next, drop a loop, and into the next, drop a loop, yarn over, go through all 3. So we're going to repeat that all the way around. 1 single crochet in the next 4, and then single crochet decrease. 1 single crochet in the next 4, and then your single crochet decrease, all the way around until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming back around after that row of single crochet, and I did 4 single crochets in a row. I have 2 stitches left to decrease over, so I'm going to go ahead and decrease over those. Now, if you had a different number than me, then remember I said you should have 126 stitches, but if you don't worry about it. If you have a different number, you're not going to end in a decrease. Just end wherever you end. If you just have single crochet left or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't really matter there. Stitch count doesn't really matter here. So, okay, now what we're going to do is you're going to need a stitch marker. So go ahead and put it right here where you ended. And we're going to go ahead and work a round of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're just going to jump to our very first single crochet and single crochet right into it. And we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So this is round 16 that we're on. We did the 14 rounds of double crochet, and then that 1 round of single crochet decrease, and that was round 15, and this will be round 16 right now. So 1 single crochet in every stitch for round 16 all the way around. No decreasing this time. Just 1 in every stitch until you get back to your stitch marker. Okay, once you make it around, back to your stitch marker after that row of single crochet. Just going to go ahead and move your stitch marker up. And we're going to do one more row of decreases. So we're on round 17 right now. We're getting ready to start round 17. And the amount of stitches you have doesn't really matter, so I'm not even going to count mine. So what we want to do is do 10 single crochets in a row and then a single crochet decrease over the next two. So go ahead and just jump to the first single crochet in it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to decrease over the next 2 stitches. So go in the next stitch, draw up a loop, in the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 single crochet again in the next 10 stitches. There's 10, and then single crochet decrease over the next 2. Go into the next one, draw up a loop, and then the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. Now I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way back around to my stitch marker. 1 single crochet in the next 10, and then a single crochet decrease all the way around till I make it back to the beginning. Okay, I made it back around here. Now what you want to do at the end of round 17 here, here's my stitch marker. Now regardless how many stitches you have left, your last 2 stitches before the stitch marker, you want to decrease over them. Like, I didn't have 10 single crochets here, but that's okay. Just however many you had, just stop at your last 2 and decrease over the last 2. So your last stitch will be a decrease. Just like that. And that'll end round 17. Now we're going to pull our stitch marker up. Now rounds 18, 19, and 20 are just going to be rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're getting ready to start round 18. So we're just going to jump over to the first single crochet in it. And it's just 1 single crochet in every stitch from now on. No more decreasing. We're done doing that. So I'm going to work around for round 18, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. Then I'll move my stitch marker up and I will do the same things for row 19 and 20. So it's actually just 3 more rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, or until you get to round 20. So I'm going to go ahead and work my 3 rounds until I get to round 20. And I'll meet back up with you when I'm finished. Okay, once you've made it back around and you finished to the end of round 20 and you're at your stitch marker, go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch after the marker. And then you can tie that off. And take your marker out and you can hide that tail. So we're done with that part. Now we're going to work on, I'm going to put some white stripes on the bag. So what you want to do is flip your bag where the bottom is at the top. So like that. This is the bottom. And here, I guess here's the top. So the top's facing you. Let's come over here to where the seam is that we were working earlier. Now we're going to be working in these front loops that you know how we only worked in the back loops before and it left this ridge. These are the front loops. That's what we're going to be working in. I'm going to work in every one of them. And all we're going to do is put a row of single crochet around each one. So you want to pull up on it. And this, we're going to start, if you look here. Here is where we slip stitched the very first stitch in the back loop only. here's the loop you need to grab. It's this one way, it's not this one. It's this one way down here. It stretched that first back loop. So you need to grab that one, like that. And start your yarn, pull through, and then chain 1. Now go right back through that same loop and single crochet. Like that. And then you jump to the next back loop right here. I know it looks a little confusing here, but once you get to doing it, it's not. The next back loop, which is right here. This is the chain 1 from when we were doing double crochets. It's not that. It's this back loop, or it's this front loop right here that's in the line with all these. So grab, I'm sorry if I said back loop anytime, I mean front loop. Grab that one, that front loop, and single crochet into it. And then we're going to single crochet in the front loop only of every one of these stitches, like that. So we're working along this ridge here, those front loops there that we left before, on every row. One single crochet in every stitch around, only going into that front loop that we skipped. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working one single crochet in that front loop only until I get back around to the beginning, and I'll meet you right over here. Okay, once you make it back around to the beginning, you want to end with a slip stitch into your first single crochet, not the chain 1, but the first single crochet. And I have 126 stitches because that's how many double crochets I had at the end of every row when we were working double crochets. Now remember, if you had a different number, you should have that many single crochets now this time. So clip that off like that. So that's one row. I'm going to do that in every row all the way down. But I'll go ahead and show you how to start it again in the next row here, because I know it looks kind of confusing because it's kind of gappy. Okay, here's our front loops here and here. This gap is where we slip stitched before, slip stitch at the beginning of every row or at the end of every row. This loop right here that's hanging way low is actually the back loop of that first stitch. And you need to make sure you get it, this one right here. So go ahead and go right through that one and start your yarn, because that's what's going to close that gap by starting in that one. Chain 1 and single crochet right back into that same loop like that. Okay, now we're going to jump to the next front loop, and remember, it's not this one that's up high, that's the chain 1. It's the one that's right here, the next one that's in line with all these other ones. So we just jump right there and single crochet into that one front loop, and then it's just one single crochet in each of one of those front loops that we missed or that we didn't work in before. Just like that. And we're going to do this, we're going to do this all the way around, and then you just end with a slip stitch into your first single crochet, and then you start again. And we're going to do this in every one of these rows all the way down. And as you can see, by doing that, it closes up that gap a little bit. That's why you need to make sure when you start, you're starting right here is that back loop, or is the front loop that we need to start in. It's kind of lower. That's the one we need to start in. And then you jump over here, and the next one's right here. This, not this one. That's the chain 1. This one. So you start right here in this low loop, because it is actually the front loop that we skipped. And then you would jump over to this one. and single crochet. So start in this one, single crochet in every single one, back around over to here, and then you slip stitch into your first one. And we're going to do that in every one of these all the way down. Okay, once you get done putting all the white on your bag like this, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows of white. So you can set that to the side, and now we'll start making our handles. You want to leave a long tail for sewing, 12 or 18 inches, and then make your slip knot. Now the handle's real easy. I'm going to start off with a chain of 6. And then we're going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And then we're going to single crochet 1 in every stitch for the length of the chain. And you'll have 5 single crochets when you get to the end of the row. And then we want to chain 1, turn our work, and go right back into the very first stitch, single crochet, and then 1 single crochet in every stitch across. And you should have 5 single crochets at the end of row 2. And we're just going to repeat that. Row 3, we chain 1 and turn. Single crochet in the very first stitch, 1 single crochet in every stitch across, 5 single crochets at the end of row 3, chain 1 and turn, and repeat. And we want to do that for a total of 52 rows. Okay, once you get your 52 rows done, you could do more if you want your handles longer, or you can do less if you want them shorter. But I did 52. Don't tie off. What you want to do is chain 1, and now we're going to work 1 single crochet all the way down to clean up all the edges. So we're just going to go 1 single crochet in every stitch. And I know it's hard to see. I kind of just go right in between the last single crochet at the end of every row. And that'll make the edges nice and clean. You want to do that all the way down, and I'll meet you up when we get to all the way down here to the first corner. Okay, I'm coming up here to the first corner, which is right here. Go ahead and put 2 single crochets in that corner. Like that, and then work 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to the next corner, right across the top here. Now remember, you don't want to hide this tail. Don't sew it in. Or don't crochet it in. Set it to the side because we're going to use that to sew in, or sew our straps on. So in this next corner, you work 2 single crochets, leaving that tail out here, so don't crochet it in. And then we'll continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way down this side, just like we did the other side, until we get up to our next corner. Okay, when you make it up to the next corner, you right up here, 2 single crochets in that corner, 1 single crochet in every stitch across, and then in the last stitch we put 2 single crochets into the last stitch. And now we're going to end by slip stitching into our first single crochet, which is right here. This is our first chain 1 that we don't want to go into. We want to go in the first single crochet, which is kind of set on the side, and pull that through. Leave a long tail again for sewing. I probably cut the wrong one. Did I? Oh, I didn't. Sometimes I cut the wrong one on accident. I would have had to tie some stuff up. Okay. Thank goodness. Now we're going to sew the handle on. I already sewed one on. So what I did is I just kind of eyeballed my piece. So I'm going to do the same. Okay, just kind of set it to where, you know, it's kind of even. You can flip your back up and to where it's all even at the top. And you can see I already got this handle sewed on. So I'm going to sew this handle on the exact same spot that I sewed this one on, like that. So use your tail and a yarn needle and just sew it on. Nice and neat. Since I already got this one sewed on, I'm going to sew it on in the same spot. I sew it all the way down to the last row of single crochet. So let's put it right on here. I'll kind of even, make it where it's going to be even on both sides here after you get it laid out. Like I said, I just kind of eyeball this part, so. And then just take your needle, or your yarn needle, and just kind of neatly sew it on. So go right through. It's not really any specific way, but I kind of just go sew up this way, and then that way, back down this side, and then back around to my starting point. I don't really sew in the middle. So now I'll come. You can pin it in your spot too, if that helps. Maybe that'll help hold it so I can show you better. Pin that there. Okay. Now I can probably bring it a little bit closer to the camera. And I went through, now I'm going to go back through the bottom, through that stitch. And then through the next stitch. And now I'm going up around the top of these stitches. So right through like that. And then across. So through that stitch and then through the next stitch on the top of the bag. And then back through the other stitch and through the strap, and then back through again through the back stitch. So you probably kind of get the gist of it. Just sew it on pretty much as neatly as you can. That's all I do really. Now I'm going to start working back down the side here. I'm going to go ahead and take my pin out. And working back down the side. Oops. That. Oops. Back up through the next stitch. Now I'm going across the bottom. And up back to where I started. Now if you want to go around that again, just to be certain that it's nice and secure, you can do that. I'm probably not going to, because I'm not going to carry this bag. This is for tutorial purposes only. But that's how you sew on the handle, and then when you look in the back, it's pretty nice and neat. Now you want to hide your tail. Weave it through a couple times so it don't come undone. And then we'll do the other side the same way. So you just take your other one. Make sure you don't twist up your handle. And sew it on about the same distance as the other one. Like that. Don't worry, we'll sew this together later. So, I mean, don't worry if you think it's looking funny. We'll get this sewed up too. But sew on the other side just the same. Okay, once you got this handle sewed on, you want to do both handles the exact same. Sew them on the exact same. But now what I'm going to do is sew it up to where it looks like this. So you want to take it and fold your piece in half like this. And we're going to slip stitch it together. Now start your yarn 2 or 3 stitches up. So skip 2, 1 on both sides. And then we're going to go through the back loop of the first stitch and the front loop of the next stitch. And that's how we're going to start our yarn. And we're going to chain 1. Now when I said skip 2 stitches, I meant skip 2 stitches here on each one of these pieces that aren't sewn on, or somewhere around there. It don't have to be exact. But now we're going to slip stitch it together. We're going to slip stitch by going in the back loop of this first piece and then the front loop of the next stitch of the next piece. Slip stitch. And that's how we're going to do it all the way down. Back loop of the stitch of the first piece, front loop of the stitch of the next piece, slip stitch, back loop of this stitch, front loop of this stitch, again, back loop of this stitch, front loop of the stitch on the other piece, and slip stitch. And we're going to do this all the way across until we get to the last 2 stitches on the other side, and then we'll leave those last two unworked, just like we left these front 2 unworked. So I'm going to continue across, slip stitching this up. Okay, I've slip stitched all the way down to where I have 2 stitches left on this side, and then these 2 stitches left here that aren't worked. Go ahead and tie that yarn off. Now you want to hide the tails on these handles, and that's what they kind of look like there. So I'm going to go ahead and hide those tails, and you want to do your other handle just the same and hide any other remaining tails that you have. Okay, once you get done, I just went ahead and sewed a couple buttons that I had on here on the handle parts. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. That's completely up to you. You can use anything you want there, or you can leave it plain, but that's it. It's got the nice hard bottom. Be able to carry lots of stuff in it. It's relatively big. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out my other tutorials. I have hundreds of tutorials, all different things. So until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this market bag here. I don't have a lot of room, but I did put a picture up in front of it in the beginning. It's actually really easy to make. It has plastic canvas on the bottom, so it's not going to sag on you. It's made with cotton, so it's going to be a lot durable. This is actually a recycled, or ripped pieces of an old sheet that I had, so what I made for the handles, and then I strung some beads on them, and that's of course optional, and you can make different handles if you want. So yeah, it's pretty easy, so let's go ahead and get started on it. I'm going to take a minute to ask you not to forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. And once you subscribe, if you click that little bell that's by the subscribe button, you'll never miss a notification of any of my tutorials, or I do a lot of yarn shopping videos, yarn reviews, and lots of giveaways. So for this project, I am using Peaches and Cream, which is a 100% medium number 4 cotton, 100% cotton. Now you do not have to use 100% cotton, but it will stretch a lot less than acrylic. So I would probably recommend using cotton, but you know, you don't have to. This is the color I used, was actually called Limeade, and there are almost, I think, yeah, 706 yards in this skein, or in this cone here, and this is what I have left. So I'm gonna say, if I had to guess, you're gonna need like 500 yards. Now that's just a guess to make this bag. And then, as I mentioned in the beginning, for the handles, I used an old sheet that I had that was just had some holes and stuff in it. I just ripped some pieces off of that for the handle to reuse some of it. And then you're going to need a piece of plastic canvas to put on, like I said, it's on the bottom to make it stronger there, to hold the bottom more sturdy. And I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, first we're going to start on the base of the bag. Now you want to start with a chain of 43. And I'm going to show you in a smaller scale because I already got my base done and it's actually really easy. So once you get your chain of 43 done, it needs to be a chain of 43. You want to go ahead and single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. Remember, we don't count this when it's on our hook. So 1, 2, go ahead and single crochet in that second stitch. And then you just want to work 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of your chain. So 1 single every stitch until you get to the end of the row. Okay, once you make it to the end of the row, you should have 42 stitches now. So now what you want to do is chain 1 and turn your work. Now that chain 1 that I did does not count as a stitch. So we're going to put our first single crochet right here into this very first spot. And then we're going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch across until we get to the end of the row. And this is row 2 that we're working on. So 1 single every stitch across until you get to the end of row 2. Okay, once you make it to the end of row 2, you still should have 42 stitches. So now it's just kind of a repeat of that row. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to single crochet right here into the very first spot, very first stitch. And then 1 single crochet in every stitch across until we get to the end of row 3. And once you make it to the end of row 3, you still should have 42 stitches. So we're just going to keep repeating this row, rows of single crochet back and forth, 42 stitches at the end of every row until we have done a total of 14 rows. Okay, once you get your 14 rows done, don't tie off. What we're going to do is go all the way around the piece with the row of single crochet. So after your 14th row, you just want to chain 1. Now we're going to work down the side of our piece here, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now it's kind of hard to see where they need to go here, but just do your best. I kind of go at the end of each row, you can see. So right here, and then the end right here. I kind of go in between the last single crochets. And just keep working down at the end, putting a single crochet at the end of every row here. Okay, now when you get here to the end, we got 1 stitch here. This is what it'll look like. So put 1 stitch here, and now your first stitch up here, put 3 single crochets into that same stitch. That way the corners will lay flat and they'll look nice and rounded. And now we're going to continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch here across this long side, which you'll be able to see pretty well where the single crochets need to go here. And you want to work this 1 single until we get to the next corner over here. Okay, when you make it over here to this corner right here, you want to put 3 single crochets into that corner. And then again, we're going to work down the short side here of our bottom, putting 1 single crochet there at the end of every row, just like we did before. And if you want to try to hide this tail here as you go, it's probably a good idea. Okay, make it up here. Now this corner right here, we're going to put 3 single crochets in it. If you look right here, that's a chain 1. Don't go into that. We'll go into the stitch right here. That'll be our first stitch up here. And we'll go ahead and put 3 single crochets in it. And then we'll continue working across the long side, the other long side, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get back to your starting point. And you'll be able to tell where these single crochets go really well. Okay, once you make it back to your starting point and you got your last stitch here, you want to go ahead and you want to put 3 single crochets into this last stitch, because that'll be the last corner. And then we're going to end by slip stitching over here in the first single crochet we made. So if you look right here is the chain 1 that we did. We don't want to go into that. We want to go right here into the next stitch and slip stitch. We can cut that off, make sure that you have 118. But if you follow it around correctly, you should have 118 stitches. So now what we're going to do, you need to make 2 pieces the exact same. Both of them need to have 118 stitches all the way around. So now what we're going to do is take our plastic canvas and we're going to cut it to size to fit. So just kind of line it up here. Maybe leave about 1 row of single crochet on each side of it. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, but just cut it to fit the size. Okay, once you get your piece cut, so you just make it fit kind of like that, a little bit hanging over on the edges. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just make sure that it fits in there. So you want to put 1 piece. Okay, you see the row of single crochet that we did? The last row. Put 1 piece where that last row is facing up. The wrong side's facing up like that. You can see that's the wrong side. And the other piece where that row of single crochet is facing right side up, just like that. Now we're going to sew this together, and then we'll insert this in at the end. So go ahead and we're going to single crochet it together. That's what we're going to do. So you can start anywhere that you want, but you want to make sure you start in the same stitch on each piece. So I'm going to take a corner and I'm going to start in the middle stitch of the corner, this piece. You know how we put 3 single crochets in one corner? I'm going to start in the middle one. And then you need to start in the same one on the other piece. So you just kind of look for it, find it. That. I'm going to pull my yarn through, and I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and single crochet again through both pieces, like that. Now I'm going to work around single crocheting my piece together. Make sure I'm going to grab the next single crochet on this piece, and then the next one on the back piece, single crochet, again the next single crochet here, and the next on the back piece, and single crochet. And I'm going to do this all the way around until I have one side open, and that's when I'll slip that piece of plastic in. Just want to make sure you're lining up the same stitches on each piece. That way when you get back around in the beginning, everything's lined up and you still have the same amount of stitches on each piece. And when you get to the corners, there's nothing special that you have to do. There's no extra stitches. You just continue to put one single crochet, slip stitching them together. Or single crocheting them together right around the corner. Just like that. So there was no extra stitches around that corner. It's just regular single crochet in every stitch on both pieces. So I'm going to go all the way around until I get up to this side, and then I'm going to put that plastic in. Okay, I've single crocheted 3 sides, and I'm up here to the top. All I'm going to do now is slide in my piece of plastic canvas here, right between the 2 pieces. Get her in there, and then I'll just finish single crocheting it together at the top, just like that. And that'll give that bottom some extra support. So just continue single crocheting it together until you get back to the end, or to where you started. Okay, once you make it all the way around, you got your plastic sewed inside. You want to end with the slip stitch into your first single crochet, not the chain one, but the first single, and you still should have 118 stitches. Okay? Now what we're going to do is chain 1, and we're going to double crochet right back into that same stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, and we're going to double crochet into the next. Then we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip 1, and double into the next. So that's kind of the pattern now all the way around. Chain 1, skip 1, double into the next, chain 1, skip 1, double into the next, chain 1, skip 1, and then double. We're going to do this all the way around, chain 1, skip 1, and double until we get back to our starting point. So it's actually pretty easy from here on out. It's actually it's all pretty easy bag. Even around the corners, it's the same thing. I chained 1, I'm going to skip 1 and double into the next. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it all the way around. Now I want to make sure I chain one after my last double crochet. I got one stitch to skip, so skip that. And then we're going to end in a slip stitch into our first double crochet. Not that chain one we did, but the first double. Now you should have 59 chain spaces. Now, it's kind of what we're going to be doing now. What the rest of the rows are going to kind of look like. Now, it'll take a little while before it starts kind of coming up and looking like a bag. But give it time. It will, eventually. So, this right here that we're getting ready to do is the repeat row until we get the bag as tall as we want it to be. So, we start off with the chain one, and we double crochet into that same stitch. And then we chain one, skip this chain space, and double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain one, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain one, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next double crochet. So it's really easy. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Chain one, skip the chain space, double into the next double. Chain one, skip the chain space, double into the next double. Just like that. So I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming back around to the beginning. I'll have one chain space left to stitch. Make sure you chain one after that last double crochet and in with the slip stitch into your first double crochet. 59 chain spaces again. Now all we're going to do is just repeat that row that we just did. And remember, don't get discouraged if it really don't look like a bag yet. It will start to look like a bag the more rows that you do. So I'm just going to start again by chaining one, double crochet right back into that same stitch, chain one, and double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. Chain one, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next double crochet. Chain one, skip the space, double crochet into the next double crochet. So I'm just repeating what I did the last round, and that's the round I'm going to keep repeating. Now you should always have 59 chain spaces at the end of each row. So I'm going to keep working, and I'll let you know here in just a second how many total rows I do. Okay, now what I've done was a total of 15 rows of these chain spaces. So if you count from the very first one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Remember, you can do yours as tall as you want. It's not going to make any difference to the pattern, so you do it to your liking. It's your bag. You make it however you want. So if you want to follow me, I did the 15. I have 15 chain spaces starting from this very first one up, but otherwise you make it to the length that you want. And now we're going to add some single crochet at the top. So I went ahead and I just ended like we usually did with the slip stitch into my first double crochet there. Now what I'm going to do is chain one. I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Then I'm going to single crochet into the chain space and into the next double crochet, into the chain space, into the next double crochet, then into the chain space and into the next double. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around the entire top of the bag until I get back to where I started. One single in the chain space, 1 single into the double, 1 single right through the chain space, and then right on top of the double. So I'm just going to keep repeating this until I get back around to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back around, now you should be back to your total of 118 stitches again. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to use a stitch marker. I'm going to put it right here. That way I know where I begin and where I end. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do another row of single crochet. So I'm just going to jump right over here to the first single crochet we did. Not this chain one that's sitting here, but the first single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet right into it. Like that. And I got my stitch marker there so I know where the end of my row is. And now I'm just going to work around again, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch now, all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. Just like that. 1 single every stitch around, back to your marker. Okay, I made it back to my stitch marker, and now that's all the rows I'm going to do at the top of mine. If you want to do more, that's fine, but I'm just going to go and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet here, and then I'm going to clip my yarn off. I could take that stitch marker out. Still should have your 118 stitches. Like that. Okay. Okay, now for the handles. Now remember, you could do any kind of handle you want. You can even crochet your own handle, or you can buy your own. What I did is I had an old white sheet, and I just took it and I slit the bottom, and then I ripped up the sides. It's about a 1.5 inches to 2, probably 1.5 inches piece section. And I made it a good 3 feet long because I can cut it off. And I did 2 of them just like that. Like I said, I just took my old sheet that I had, just repurposing it. It had holes and stuff in it. So I just took this so I can reuse part of it. Clipped a little bit of the end, and then I just ripped it up. So it's got the nice ripped edges on it just to make it look kind of, you know, unique, I guess. But of course you can make clean cuts on it if you want. Now this part I kind of just eyeball it. I kind of get it laid out about how, you know, until it looks about even. And I'll grab one of my sheet pieces and I'll go through, you know, wherever you want to put them, the hole. Go through it like that. Let's see. And then you just tie it up like that. You can do it again if you want. Bring it over to about the same spot on the other side and tie it the same way. Just go through this hole and tie it. Now you do not have to do your handles like this. You can do them any way that you want. This is kind of just how I'm going to do it. I wanted to use this old sheet. Oh. Repurpose, reuse. I thought, what better place to repurpose something than to mark a bag. Just like that. Now you can cut these off if you want. Make your handle, you know, adjust your handle for as long as you want. And then you just do the other side the same way. Flip it and kind of line them up in the same spots to make it about equal. So I'll take my other sheet here and just eyeball it. That's all I do is eyeball it. Go through there, tie a knot, and eyeball it over here about the same spot. Go through it and tie a knot same way, and your handles are done if you're doing it this way. Now remember, you do not have to do it like me. Some people may not like this shabby look. You can definitely do your own handles and make them a lot cleaner if you want to. I kind of like the shabby looking stuff sometimes. That is it. Now you got a market bag. Now what you want to do, if you have any loose strings on the handles, you can clip them. You can clip these to as long or as short as you want. If you want to attach any beads, you can attach some beads to it. I might put some beads on mine. I always put beads on all my bags, but that's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. I'll put a better picture of this at the end of the video so you can see it. Hope you're able to follow along. Okay, pretty easy bag, I think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to check out all my other tutorials. I have hundreds of them. And until next time, have a good day.